Hi, this is Group 1, and we will be covering the Courage to Assume Responsibility, which is Chapter 2 of The Courageous Follower. Next slide.
There we go.
So these are our key takeaways, and basically Chapter 2 covers responsibility and how it pertains to outcomes and how one handles them. Self-assessment is a very important aspect and first step to take responsibility, and self-assessment requires honesty and an open examination of oneself. Responsibility also includes retrieving and evaluating feedback to encourage your relationship growth with your leader. This is necessary to promote a transparent and an honest and open culture. Followers must also manage to take care of themselves, especially when needed. Taking initiative is one of the most important traits for a follower to have because it's so supported and encouraged by leaders. Followers can also improve processes by testing their ideas, and effective followers can influence the group culture, sometimes by rule breaking or changing mindsets. Next slide. So what is the courage to assume responsibility? Responsibility is basically taking ownership of, accepting, and evaluating outcomes. This can be extremely intimidating, so courage is necessary. Responsibility is a skill that can be learned, and it can be further refined. Responsibility is often driven by initiative and feedback. Followers must be willing to evaluate themselves and others. Sometimes this requires the courage to speak up, especially when this is impacting the entire group. This also allows the follower to establish a true partnership with the leader. Followers who are true partners offer high support and challenge the leader when necessary. This also helps to establish community within the group. Followers can set examples, lead other followers, and change or even influence the group culture. Next slide.
All right, hi there. My name is George Soteris. I'm going to be taking care of slides 4 and 5 here. So to start off with self-assessment, that's going to be assuming responsibility for your personal development, and that's going to begin with doing a self-examination. You cannot know which direction you need to grow until you find out where your weak points are, and then you can figure it out from there. So that's going to involve evaluating your competencies and relationships within a team. So courageous followers do not wait for performance reviews, they assess their own performance. So doing that test will help you figure out in which direction that you want to go. And you want to make sure that followers do not tolerate disrespect. That's not in any way that you're going to grow from that. And you need to allow your followers to relate to the leader, to yourself. And then challenges can only be healthy in moderation. So you don't want to challenge yourself all the time. You need to do it in moderation. All right, go ahead, hit the next slide there. All right, so we're just going to go over this followership style diagram. So to start with quadrant 1, the partner. So to kind of describe it, the partner gives vigorous support to a leader, but is also willing to question the leader's behavior or policies. This individual could be said to be a true partner with the leader and displays many of the characteristics identified with courageous followership. All right, so on to the next quadrant, quadrant 2, the implementer. These type of leaders can count heavily on followers who operate from this profile to do what is needed to get the job done and not require much oversight or explanation. So they just kind of, they don't really challenge the leader. They just basically go along with what they say. On the bad side of that, though, if the leader does go down a wrong path, the followers are not likely to tell the leader that they're going down the wrong path and things need to change. So that's kind of a downside to that. Next up on quadrant 3, the individualist. These type of people do not hesitate to tell the leader or anyone else in the group exactly what they think of his or her actions or policies. These are potentially important people to have in the group, as they can balance the tendency of the rest of the group to go along with what seems acceptable. So they constantly criticize the leader, and does not offer a lot of support. And then finally, quadrant 4, the resource. Those people can be described as low participation, and they do the bare minimum. They do an honest day's work, but they don't go beyond what's expected of them. And that's how they describe the resource. All right, go ahead on the next slide there then.
I'm Leslie. I'm doing slides 6 and 7. Feedback allows improvement in the work environment. You can take the criticism from a leader, learn from it, and then be able to apply it. Communication between a leader and a follower is important, not only to learn about each other, but to display how you further handle in an aspect you need improvement in. Stay open-minded and aware, and assure your leader is clear and giving examples of what needs to be changed. This helps to avoid defensiveness within the followers. Feedback also helps to provide understanding between others and situations. Elicit feedback assures that we are strong in our position to find out our flaws. Growth exposes our vulnerability in areas we haven't mastered yet. It can get uncomfortable. We need to support our growth and gain our courage to face our dark side, not protect from our self-image. Emotional struggle plays a part in the growth process. Prepare yourself for this rather than shut down. Next slide. Self-management gives credibility and resources to create changes. These changes help to improve the organization. Key is to stay organized. Without organization, as a follower, you may be seen as unprepared, missing deadlines, submitting faulty work, and failing to meet expectations. Self-management goes at hand with time management. A common stumble is that we lack time to organize ourselves, but we should make the time or we'll end up exhausting ourselves. To ensure our reliability, our life and health are fundamental. We feel that work comes before our health, but we can't perform at our best if we're unhealthy. This leads to burnout. You can't be consumed by your work. You have to find a balance between work and life, something we often forget to do. Our life and health makes a big difference in the workplace. Next slide.
Hello, I'm Heather, and I'm going to be discussing slides 8 and 9. On this slide, I'm going to be talking about passion and initiative. Passion reconnects the follower with power. Successful followers care passionately about their work and the people it serves. It gives them a sense of ownership over their work. If you don't match a leader's passion, most likely you won't be as successful as they are. Passion can't be faked either. It comes from a genuine connection to the common purpose. Courageous followers ask themselves tough questions to reignite any loss of passion because they can't stand not having it. Such questions like, does the organization's sense of purpose need renewing? Have I personally lost touch with a shared purpose and vision of the organization? And so on. Restoring passion reconnects us with power. Initiative is a distinguishing, courageous follower characteristic. Initiative happens when you avoid spectating and become active. You have to have willingness to initiate action without being told to do so. When common purpose guides the leader and the follower, the control shifts from the leader to the purpose. You must understand the organization's purpose and the acceptable and unacceptable risks. It's actually irresponsible to not act accordingly. If the initiative is motivated by service, the common purpose and common purpose, the leader will respect it. Next slide. Culture is the norms of behaving and looking at the world. Standing out and modeling new attitudes changes culture. If done as an expression of our own outlook and expression, it adds strength to the organization. Appreciating and supporting traditions enhances culture. It allows us to credibly model the other characteristics not currently embraced by the group. By linking values to common purpose, you can influence the energy of the group generates for accomplishing the purpose. Next slide.
Hi, I'm Nathan Renz, and I'll be doing slides 10 through 12 here. So rules. Rules are the agreements by which the group maintains its identity, expresses its values, and coordinates its activities. They are created as guidelines for using the group's resources, as methods for orderly decision-making, and as assurances of fairness, as clarification and guarantees of expected standards. And followers should know their rules well, because when followers are well versed in the rules, they're able to understand exactly how to function in their system by the organization. And when you are not well versed, you are incompatible to function effectively and ethically and correct in all situations. And but when you do know them, they also know the rules well enough to know which ones can be deviated from to help the company. And when to break the rules, when you break a rule when it impedes an organization's ability to give appropriate service. And there are requirements for rule breaking to ensure safety of the company and the process itself. And these requirements require selflessness, careful examination of motives and assumptions, complete transparency with the rest of the organization, and complete responsibility over breaking the rules. Mindsets are similar in a way. Mindsets are the collective ways of thought that are unified across the whole organization and are ingrained in the foundation of the company's work structure. These make up the attitudes of the employees and the organization as a whole in a way. And sometimes for to effectively function, it is required to almost change the mindset in a way. And but when a follower, a courageous follower, is going to attempt to change the mindset of a whole company, they need to be well prepared and well versed in their research on the mindset as a whole. This requires knowing and having things like statistics, case histories, and antidotes, comparison with the group's practices, outside experts and studies, impact statements from affected stakeholders, historical analogies, tours and inspections of widely different models, future scenarios of the extension of the current practice. Processes are similar in a way to rules and mindsets because they are chains of actively through which an organization fulfills its needs and the needs of the individuals and the group with which it interacts. They permit the organization to achieve its purpose, and other processes support these. Fixing the broken chains and flaws in the process, because sometimes there are flaws that need to be fixed for the good of the company or the organization. And a courageous follower should not wait for others to fix them. They should step up and do it. And what should they do with the broken process? Well, they should alert the owner and the organization of the flaws so they can create that transparency and take responsibility for alerting them. And they should also present ideas to the owners and collective group on how to fix the flaws. So they should show the flaws, and then they should have ideas prepared in advance to offer how to fix them as well. And the end here, the courageous follower is a champion who unifies the collective body of the organization to bring order to the flawed systems in their process chain.
Hi, my name's Annie Dubinsky, and I will be reviewing the real world application and our conclusion. So we chose the example of accepting responsibility for failing a test. Assess your performance and feedback from the instructor. In doing this, you show your instructor that you are concerned for the reason of failure and want to achieve success moving forward. Take initiative to change study habits or seek help from your instructor. Changing your study habits or seeking help from your instructor are great actions that result from taking responsibility from a failure. Not only are you taking initiative for yourself, but also proving to your superior your willingness to learn and grow as a student. Test and improve your study habits. Improving your study habits, as mentioned above, is the start in taking personal responsibility for your failure. Once you have found a way to change these habits, you put your new routine to the test by quizzing yourself. And if you are still struggling to succeed, reevaluate your study choices and speak to your instructor for further guidance. Accept the outcomes. Taking responsibility also means owning up to your failures and accepting the consequences. Consequences are put in place to encourage personal development. Next slide. In conclusion, responsibility needs courage. Nobody wants to be responsible for their failures, but it is necessary. In order for a follower to work towards partnership with their leader, they must practice taking responsibility and show initiative, as leaders do not want to be the only ones leading. Courage to assume responsibility is valued among leaders. Courage helps enhance the follow-leader relationship via support, trust, and honesty. Having courage by taking responsibility in a professional environment creates a strong and trustworthy relationship between the follower and the leader. Responsibility enhances follower-to-follower relationships. Taking on responsibility also influences follower-to-follower relationships, and it encourages other followers to give their best and challenge one another. Initiative is the most important factor. One must show their initiative as a follower, and the leader supports the initiative unless shown to be redirecting attention to themselves or at the expense of the leader. Having ambition shows the leader the willingness to learn and grow in current abilities. And one must be honest, but not disrespectful of others and selves. Being honest is the gateway to a successful relationship with anyone. When creating an atmosphere of trust, you have a workplace with a solid foundation of building productive and cohesive teams. Thank you.